Now to get more advanced with our tables here, what we're going to do is first let's sort them by column. So I can sort them ascending A to Z, and what it does is when you sort it by column, it looks at the first letter in each cell, and that's how it's going to sort. So the letter S, if I sort ascending, it's at the lower end of the alphabet, so it should shoot down here, but be before the letter W in Wilford. In any case, you get the point. So I'm going to go click anywhere within my table, and then up on the Home tab within the paragraph group, I'm going to click on the sorting button. Automatically it selects the whole table, and it's going to sort the whole table. Now the question I have is, do I want to sort my row header or the heading for each column? I don't want 2,000 cells, the heading for this column, to be sorted with the rest. So what I want to do is I want to say that my list has a header row. The top row automatically isn't going to be sorted with the rest of the data within the table. And you can tell that it actually captures the first row. The title is the header, 2007 top sales, but the other two columns don't have headers, so it gives me a blank. It just defines them as column 2 and column 3, which makes sense because I have 3 columns here. If I actually click cancel and say this is location, and then I go ahead and make sure I'm clicked somewhere within the table and sort A to Z, and then by default it always wants to select no header row, so I'll have to select it again. And then click on the drop down arrow, and there it is, location. So whatever I want to define those, it'll actually pick it up as soon as I define that my table has a header row. So it won't sort my first row with all the rest of the data in the table. Once I select my header row, I can go ahead and choose ascending or descending. Let's do ascending, and let's say we want to sort the location column ascending, so it'll be A to Z. Go ahead and click OK. Well, it looks like it was already sorted, so let's try again. I'm going to have to select my header row again, and let's do descending in the location column and click OK. Now it shifts things up. It doesn't sort first row here, and descending, lower end of the alphabet, is Tallahassee. Then it works its way all the way back up to C, Chicago. Let's say that we don't like this column here. Hover my mouse over the top border of the first cell in this column, and you see that little black arrow that's pointing down. The moment I click on it, it selects everything below it. Okay, so you have to be really accurate with your mouse to get that little black arrow pointing down at the top of any of the columns to click, and it selects it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Now I can either do Control X to cut it, right click my selection and cut it, or just come up here on the Home tab and click on the pair of scissors. Now, where's it going to paste? It depends on where I click my cursor. If I click it in the first column and I go ahead and right click and select paste columns, or I just click in here and click on the paste button, it actually will paste it before that column, whatever column I was in. So I'm going to go ahead and click undo, and let's paste it in between the first column and the second column. So I'm going to click on the second column so it pastes it in front of that, and then go ahead and let's do right click and paste our columns. Okay, next let's say that the top row, I just want the title here for all 3 columns stretched across the 3 columns. I don't want location here. So what I want to do is I want to be able to merge all 3 of these cells as my header row. Okay, so to do that, it's really simple. Go ahead and select, click and drag all 3 columns in that row, and then simply right click in the middle of your selection and left click on merge, and automatically merge those cells. Now if you don't want to use right clicking, which I prefer, you can always come up here on the design tab or the layout tab to perform a lot of your functions, and including your merge cells. But since we already merged it, it's faded, so I can't use it. But I could split the cells again by clicking on the split cells, and then I can say how many columns I want to split to. Do I just want 2, or do I want to break it up into 3 columns again? So we could do 3 and click OK. I'm back to 3 columns, but they're not aligned right, so I'd have to click and drag and adjust my columns. But we'll go ahead and undo that and leave it the way it is. I can either right click and go to my cell alignment here, which gives me a little preview where the lines are at, or again I can come up to my contextual tab, layout tab, and there's the same buttons just right there as if I was going to stay down here and right click as well. Let's center it and put it to the top. So there it is. When you hover over it, align top center. That looks pretty good. Maybe I want to drag this border of the table up just a little bit to close the gap between the title and everything down below. And in fact, what I may want to do is come up here and let's do align center, so it's aligned vertically as well as horizontally in the center of the cell. What if I want to be able to stretch these columns out evenly? What if they're off just a little bit? Well, the cool thing about this that you can do is you can go ahead and select the range that you want to evenly distribute, so each cell within the range that you selected here is going to be exactly the same width or the same height as other cells. Go ahead and select it, and up on the Layout tab, you've got two options here. You can distribute your columns evenly. In other words, if one's larger, one's smaller, and the other one's a lot larger than the other two, it takes the largest column and compares it to the smallest and tries to distribute them so they're all exactly the same. So if I click on that, that's what Microsoft Word sees as an even distribute. Also by rows too. So if, let's say I have a little bit of a bigger row here and maybe a little bit of a tiny row here, well, as long as I have it selected, I could also do my evenly distribute the rows so it averages between the smallest one and the greatest one and then applies those across all the selected rows here. Something to separate our top title cell differently from the rest of the cells down below. I can click in the top cell and let's go to our design for the table tools. And of course up at the top I have my different table styles I can click on and choose from any type of table style, which is really nice. But if I want to get a little bit more definitive in how I want, let's say, just the top part colored and the rest of it left alone, I can click in here, come up in the Design tab and click on the Borders button, go all the way down to Borders and Shading. Or when in doubt, I can always right click within the cell and come down to Borders and Shading. I can say that instead of within the table, I want the cell that I'm currently in. So I want to apply this to the cell that I clicked in, which is the title cell here. I can say I would like a different color for the borders. Let's do something pink, and maybe the border needs to be a little bit thicker, so 2 1/4 here for the width. And then let's say I wanted the bottom border not in, well, it's kind of a red there. Let's say I want maybe something darker blue. And this is the preview. Anything, whatever I see in here when I click OK is going to be applied to the cells. So if I don't have a bottom border, I better apply one by clicking in the preview window here, and I can see I got a dark blue. Now for shading of the cell, I can come over to the Shading tab and notice how it wants to apply to the whole table. Well, again, we want to select just the cell that we're currently in, and look, it updates. At least we can see the border of the cell that we're applying the colors to, and we want to shade within the center of that cell. So we'll click on the color here and maybe do more colors and select something a little bit easy on the eyes and click OK. Okay, that's not easy on the eyes. Let's do something really faded in orange and click OK. Doesn't look great, but you get the picture. And by the same token, if you want to remove that, again, when in doubt, right click or click in the cell and come up to your Contextual Design tab and click on the drop down arrow and click on Borders and Shading. Don't forget that you want to go back to your Home tab if you're trying to center, let's say, one of your cells and you clicked on the center button but it's not aligning it. For example, when you right click and you want to be able to do a cell alignment, you can see it's right in the middle but it's not aligning in the middle. You may have some hard returns or formatting issues. And you want to come back to your Home tab in the paragraph group and click on your Reveal Codes. And you can see that there's a hard return. The moment I delete that, it centers it in the middle. Instead of having an extra line below it, I just delete it. And there we go. These little circles that you see here actually defines that this is a cell. So you can't delete those. It just says this is a separate cell that you're in. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.